Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have the KarKey panel, and our guests today, Wade Hillburn, President, and Dennis Loux, COO of KarKey USA, are with us, Ted, and we have an exciting topic for our audience today.
Sarah, thank you so much. Very exciting. Wade and Denny, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you for having us.
Very important topic and one that's top of mind. Sarah, currently, I believe your vehicle is in the shop. We were talking in the green room with Wade and Denny. And give us a status update, because I know you just heard from the dealership a little while ago.
Yes, I did, Ted. And this is a very timely topic, and it's something I think a lot of people experience with vehicles needing repairs and maintenance on the road today. So, to give our audience a little bit of context, my vehicle had some recent large maintenance recently. It needed the timing belt and water pump changed at the mileage that it was at. But a few thousand miles after that, I started hearing this rattling noise, which obviously is a concern when you have a vehicle that's making noises that it shouldn't. And so we're at day 3 now of the vehicle being in the shop and going through the diagnostic process, trying to identify one of the hardest things to diagnose. But I just heard a little while ago that they confirmed what the part actually is that was making the sound. And I'll need to have part of the compressor fan and some of these other components replaced. But one of the challenges in this equation is, when will the part arrive, and how do we get it to the dealership? And so, one of the things that's very timely with what we're talking about with KarKey today is, this downtime that customers have between waiting for the parts to come into the dealership and, in some cases, like what Wade and Denny will be talking about today, what happens when those OEM parts take a lot longer than they can to get to the dealership, and what options are available for dealers to solve that challenge for customers today.
This is real world stuff. Wade, does any of this sound familiar? And if so, tell us a little bit about what KarKey does.
It sounds incredibly familiar. People need their vehicles nowadays, whether they're hauling their kids around or whether they're trying to earn a living by driving. Uh, People just need repair solutions, and they need them quickly. So we understand that. And so KarKey was designed specifically to uh, service a professional repair with an IT solution by allowing them to order in the same configurations that they're normally used to by OE number and VIN, but tap into the recycling parts world that in the past may or may not have been considered a supply source. But with the invention of KarKey and some of the things that it does that are unique, it allows them to access significantly more products and more parts. And by using our fulfillment team with an enhanced QC process, we're able to deliver much more timely, higher quality part, hopefully getting folks like Sarah uh, out of the dealership, out of the service bay, and back on the road.
Well, and this is incredibly exciting. One of the things that I don't think a lot of our dealers that are listening today, Ted, and Denny, would love to get you and Wade's perspective on this. But the annual revenue in what we're calling recycled parts, and dealers that are listening today, what is the annual revenue typically in recycled parts?
So recycling represents about 32 billion in annual revenue, and that's everything from scrap to full service and self-service part sales. So it's quite sizable, and they do it relatively inefficiently in the sense that they've been restricted by a part numbering system that typically only allows them to see and sell assemblies rather than dig deeper into their asset and service customers with a higher variety of products that they may not have been able to access in the past.
Sarah, I'm just curious, what year is your Honda?
Oh, it's a 2019. It served me well for a number of years. We put a lot of mileage on it. But it's at the point in its life, Ted, as many of our audience members today, people are holding on to their vehicles for longer. This is probably the longest that I've ever held on to a vehicle in the life cycle that I've been in retail automotive and beyond. But here we are at 100,000 plus miles, and I need some parts.
Wade and Denny, I see that the average age of a vehicle on the road today is approaching 13 years. I think 12.8 or 12.9. Last time I looked, it's going up. There's no question about it. New car prices and new vehicle prices are going up. Wade, what's the inhibitor for accessing these recycled parts in terms of getting access to them?
It's the legacy system that's always been out there, right? The part numbering system, the inefficiencies in yard management systems, and just the overall um, knowledge of, say, the people or the sales folks on the phone, right? Most of these individuals have been around for quite some time, and the cars got much more sophisticated, and so the variants in the part types have dramatically changed, and a lot of times not keeping up or just simply pigeonholing yourself into a place where you just service the things you want to sell rather than what the customer actually wants. And so KarKey basically opens that box up, and we call it a mobile warehouse where the consumer can access all part types, right? Uh, Now, not all parts lend themselves to be recycled and put back on the vehicle, but a significant amount of them are ready to go. They're going to perform, no diminished performance, and the customer is going to be down the road and feel very safe and confident in what they're doing.
Denny, as a follow-up, it would seem that there are probably an awful lot of Sarahs or customers like Sarah out there who are inconvenienced waiting for parts like this. This seems like a very, very smart idea.
Yeah, it's when you hear the stories of what the end customer's going through, and you know, talking to the professionals in the repair lanes and the parts guys and stuff, there is a lot of frustration at times when they've got that part that they can't get the guy or the individual back on the road, and they want options. And we've definitely, with the software, developed an option to be able to go out there across the network and look at other things that, the mobile warehouses that Wade talks about. There's probably 10 to 12 million VINs a year going through the recycling network. Yeah, so if you can see, we have line of sight into that stuff now, and when we look at triangulating the detail and given the part options, it's another option. I was at an operation the other day and just talking to one of the directors, and when they look at their backlog or what's holding them up in work, and I think the number he threw out at me, there was about $200,000 worth of parts that was causing a delay for him in his service operation. So we're excited. I mean, we know that we can help, and it's a great tool, and we encourage everybody to try us out.
Well, and Wade, to go back a step, so for our audience listening today and our dealers that are thinking about this in their strategy, what does the warranty, look like on these parts? And then, just curious, when you're talking with dealerships about some of these strategies, what are some of the potential impacts that you're seeing out in the field with implementing this?
Well, when you think about warranty, right, if we get operational sameness, we want to be to the professional repair. We want to have something that looks very, very similar to what they're used to from their professional part suppliers, right? So we give it an OE similar style warranty, right? So it's less confusion for them when they're either quoting it to the customer and they don't have to say, hey, on this repair ticket, you got 10 parts that carry this warranty and one part that carries this warranty. So we just made it across the board something that they were familiar with, and so we could keep operational sameness.
I like all that. It seems extremely timely. Sarah, what is the part, by the way, or do you know that
You
what they're
know,
using?
I don't have my repair order or the recommendation handy. I'll have to go back and look, but But this is, this is definitely something I think I'll have to bring up with the folks working on my vehicle because again, this is the reality, Ted. There's a lot of repair orders that are open across dealerships, and there's a lot of people that have to wait on parts they could otherwise be finding with KarKey and then putting into their vehicles like this.
Wade, remind me again. Tell us approximately how many vehicles go through the recycling network? What does that look like?
There's about 12 million. And,
Wow. Okay.
we say the inventory is like a river. It's constantly changing and it's constantly moving through. And the recycle part can be 2026 or 1998.
Hmm.
So the
Wow.
recycling industry truly is the only industry that can actually run alpha to omega in the sense of a potential offering. It's amazing nowadays when we're looking at the sophistication of the car. And used to, we would think that a total loss event would happen if you had an accident. But we're getting into some scenarios, even with later model vehicles, that you could potentially have a mechanical total loss just simply because you couldn't access a part to actually perform the repair. And so, you know, by thinking of the customer and the level of sophistication that's at the car and accessing a new part source to help keep those customers on the road, we're finding that customers, when they wake up every day and say, "Hey, I turned the key, the light came on," they're picking up the phone and they're calling the dealer. And most people are scared to death because the car is probably one of their largest assets that they know the least amount about. So they're scared straight off the bat, and they come in and they're looking for a solution. And most of the time, the professional repair is where they need to be, but if you don't have a part at a price they can afford, or you don't have a part in general, you're just simply turning that customer away and pushing them out into into the world to fend for themselves. And that's what scares consumers.
A follow-up, if I can, Denny and Wade. So, I'm thinking also about our pre-owned directors and pre-owned managers that are out there thinking about their pre-owned inventory. There's a lot of challenges right now in the used car market with sourcing vehicles, with getting, frontline ready inventory that they can have, at the right price point to entice, customers to purchase or to trade their vehicle in. And in some cases, Wade, this I'm thinking about, the value, how important it is when you're evaluating these trade-ins that are coming in into the service lane. Are there applications that you're seeing with KarKey in how dealers can, source in parts inventory for some of these frontline pre-owned units where now they can hold on to more vehicles?
Absolutely, and Denny can address this at a higher level, but reconditioning cars is more
Pre-con.
popular now than ever. You've
Yeah.
got the reconditioners that a year ago did one specifically did 300,000 cars. Last year they did 600,000 cars. Their
Yes.
goal is to do 1 million cars, and and they just moved on the S&P 500. So
Yes.
uh, it's a real time solution for the customers. The only thing is if you're processing that many vehicles, you're gonna have to access products and parts, and Denny knows this well, that aren't available at the dealer anymore because a lot of them have to be interior components. And there's no aftermarket solution, and if there is,
Right.
it
Right.
doesn't fit, or you trying to figure it out. But accessing a lot of the internals, whether it be infotainment, headrest, seat tracks, because you're using cars in a significantly different way, different products and different parts are wearing out. And Denny, what was the amount of parts that dealers used to carry in inventory compared to what they're carrying nowadays?
Yeah, when I back in the day, the OEMs would carry, a 15-year shelf life of a part on a car. And today, we all know that the complexity of the car, there's so much more changing on a vehicle. We just looked at one part the other day that basically only had a 2-year lifespan, and then it was being replaced out. And the OEMs, we know talking to some of the OEMs, it's a challenge for them to carry a lot of depth on parts and have the coverage, and they see what we're doing in the network with all these vehicles coming through as an opportunity for some of the sourcing options. And just going back to what you guys were talking about with the reconditioning and stuff, that is huge. We have several dealers that when they're running their recon operation, they're looking at options because you take a price of an OEM part new, if it is available, it might be $1,000 for a headrest. And hey, maybe there's an option out there in the recycling yard for 400 bucks. And this is where the software really shines is in the past, in the past, the recyclers couldn't get the detail for the trim codes.
Right.
KarKey has done all that.
Wow.
So we can really go in, and if you have a titanium interior, we'll know that, and we're able to source the right vehicle for that part. So that's what's really different. Coming over to this side from the OEM side of the world that I lived in, and then the recyclers lived in that engine and transmission category. And like Wade said, now we're giving them the option that they can get granular on the vehicle and sell more parts off of it.
Denny, I'm thinking just to come back to that recon element, a lot of the people watching here today, a lot of the dealers are groups. There are smaller groups, 5, 10. There are bigger groups, 40, 50 stores. And recon has never been more important than it is today. And the speed to front line has never been as top of mind as it is right now to get that and reduce that as much as possible. So a lot of these reconditioning operations, it really hones in on getting the parts, getting the availability, and getting that vehicle to front line. And Denny, I see this as being top of mind, okay, for those big groups and small groups alike. It's part of the recon process, and you've got a resource that's available right now for them.
Yeah, it's Ted. It's a key point, and actually, in our team meetings that we have each morning, we talk about the cycle time for the professional and stuff, and getting it out there. And we have matrix in place that, we want to have the stuff shipping within 2 business days from the vehicles that we're harvesting. We're working hard behind the scenes. We have a team that's actually cultivating the recycling yards, teaching them the QC process, the shipping requirements, the speed to delivery. There's a lot of things that you realize today that you got to make execute, and exactly what you said. We know that cars got to get to the front line quick, so it's definitely a constant focus of ours with delays.
This is exciting stuff, Ted, and for our audience, Wade, what's the next step as far as learning more and how do we get started?
So we always encourage people to reach out to us at the request at karkeyusa.com or our 1-800 number 877-527-5398. It's simple. You call. We have professional folks in here that have worked in dealerships and parts stores. So KarKey is not open to the public. It's specifically designed to service the professional repairer. And so we speak the same language, and it's our job to manage the relationships. And like Denny said, be able to deliver a higher quality product on time, and that's accurate. So everything KarKey does is specifically designed to enhance that process. So everybody gets to the point that the consumer is the most important thing that we do. It's what we focus on. It's the one that pays everyone's bills. And so being able to repair the vehicle and having service options to actually do that with has never been more important. And the recon, that's what's attracting customers to our lots. And we want to sell them parts and service for quite some time. And so if you got me on an 84-month car payment, I'm going to expect to see a part to repair my vehicle, whether the OE has it or not. They're looking
Yes.
straight into your eyeballs and saying it's your fault, not the OE's fault. So having those options and those alternatives, Denny and I and the whole team at KarKey, we strive to put the customer first, and we're not always 100%, but we strive for 100%.
Danny, I'll give you the last word because you got a consumer right here with a real world story, and this is real world, and this is happening. I'm thinking how many times or all over the country right now as we sit here today.
Yeah, thanks, Ted. I mean, look, we want to help the professional. We want to give people options. We want to get the vehicles back on the road. We definitely, being in this business forever, you've seen the changes on what's going on out there with supply chain and stuff. And there is definitely something to capture here with what's going through the other side of the network on the recycled. So, you know, we'd love to take anybody's got questions. You can contact us by email. You can call us. We have no problem. If you need help going onto the system, we'll walk you through it. We've got some YouTube videos that we're starting to put together that are out there on our website and stuff. So, you know, we're engaging. And look, we're not perfect. We're learning every day too on what's needed in the business. And the commitment you get from Wade and myself is that, we are can do guys. So that's, we're going to make it happen.
Sarah, this is powerful stuff. And, this is the year of parts and all in fixed operations. You can't sell those hours without the parts, Sarah.
That's so true, Ted. And I want to, and on behalf of Ted and I, today, thank you so much, Wade Hillburn, for being part of our discussion, and Denny Loux, thank you again for being here with us today. And for more information, visit KarKeyUSA.com. And Ted, I'm excited to hear more best practices from KarKey USA on the future Fixed Ops Roundtables.
I think we're going to have a lot coming up. KarKeyUSA.com is the company. Reach out. Both Wade and Denny are very active on social media as well. On behalf of the Roundtable, gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today. And thank you for this great service and a lot more to come. So we'll look forward to it. The team from KarKey USA here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.